the three-finger rule.
All right. Hey, welcome to our innovation live stream coming from, let's see, Westchester County, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Connecticut. And Jen, are you in New Jersey? Is this a tri-state?
Today, exactly. Today I'm in Jersey City. Who knows
So,
where I'll be tomorrow?
hey, well, listen. The hang on one second. Boom. Now we are on. All right. So, hey, Laura.
Today we have with us co-founder and president of Quesnay, Jenn Byrne. And Jenn, we've had different experiences with you so far, but we're excited to have you on today.
Recognizing that there are a lot of great things about a large company: scale, customer data, brand, and on the startup side, new thinking, digital capabilities, really creativity. And so could we build a company and set up some processes that would really bridge the gap in communication, expectations, process, et cetera? And the reason we formed the company was because my founder and I, we both had experiences at startups and corporations and really saw sort of this combination of capabilities and assets. Prior to Quesnay, I was part of a large startup within American Express, where we launched a new product for digital native, sort of non-traditional card members and really pushing mobile. And prior to that, I was at Verizon, where I got in on the ground up in 3G days, running lots of different new experiments, built the innovation program, and really just trying to challenge the telco thinking around how could we bring more products and services through a mobile phone, clip. We are really a lot of similar challenges and opportunities between mobility insurance and finance. Which also kind of ties back to mobility, the original mobility, which was telco. So fast forward, what we do is run innovation competitions. And prior to COVID, we were convening lots of interesting folks in New York and Las Vegas and London and California. Now we've pivoted into digital, like all of us. But we were fortunate in that most of our innovation work was done on a virtual basis using.
Great. I have to ask, what are some of the favorite tools that you come across? Because it sounds like you likely have more experience than most in terms of duration of being digital on a platform. Paul and I have been experimenting with everything under the sun, trying to figure out an equation that's going to work, and it's still morphing. Have there been tools that you've kind of hung on to the entire time to say, this is something I never look to replace?
In terms of my sort of day-to-day, what I use
day-to-day,
individually, or
I know that we have a lot of people who watch these who are hosting virtual events for the first time now and trying to convene those larger conversations. So it could even be day-to-day to hosting an event. What have you found to be successful so far?
I would say candidly, we're still experimenting a lot, probably like you all, whether it's, the digital sticky whiteboard experience or really trying to recreate the sort of table interaction, like building on top of Zoom, some really interesting broadcast-like experience. What I'm looking for is, and I think there are some startups out there working this, is really trying to create a 3D like experience and using whether AR and VR to kind of overlay this very like sort of flat experience that we're all having. So I'm really looking forward to seeing who's gonna invent the next gen Zoom.
Yeah. So we've actually done a lot of experimentation ourselves with that. It's interesting you say that. So we've got I think you saw we released this mobile app a couple of months ago, and anyway, the guy who's doing this is doing all kinds of fun, just unbelievable stuff in AR and VR on sort of a moonlighting basis for some companies. But I agree with you. So we've looked at some of that stuff as a company. To say, how do we create a sort of a virtual experience for agents and for clients? And the biggest challenge is, what's the device that people have? Like, Facebook came out. I don't know. Have you played around with the Quest or the Go? Jen,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting, the device on their head and we were going to try this at one of our our agent events. We used it for a recruiting event. There was somebody coming out of Y Combinator just launched this company where you can put the headset on, share your screen, meet with other people. We're going to test it this week to see, what the potential is and just how buggy it is. But I agree with you. How do you create that? What are some novel things to do to make people actually join an event when they're not there?
And also experience different sensory modes, right? So
yes.
You can't really replace that in-person interaction. There is the prediction among the kind of the smartphone geeks of the world that actually the smartphone will go away, and that that technology will be embedded in your eyewear, in your watch, potentially within your skin, and some are experimenting with that. But that is one prediction, that will sort of become embedded technology, which is hard to imagine. But for now, I'm grateful that we have the connectivity that we have in order for us to have these kinds of sessions and to serve customers and continue to innovate. Without the connectivity, I don't know what we'd be doing. Imagine if Google didn't exist, or fiber. Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Exactly. I can't imagine. Well, maybe we just sort of talk about the experience we did. I thought we had a great partnership here the other week doing Northeast InsurTech Week. And I don't know, Laura, do you want to maybe set it up and for people who didn't hear about it?
Yeah,
what was
sure.
it and what do we do?
Yeah, so it was a combination of 5 organizations that came together. So it was Nassau Re, our own thing, kind of overlapping here and there, collaborating. It's just a stronger messaging and stronger output. So, each one of the ran and focus area there.
Yeah, it was such a great experiment, right? Bringing 5 organizations together in the period of time that we did. And as you said, we each brought a different conversation, different content, and a slightly different audience. And I thought it really came together nicely. Our session was on founder journeys. We really wanted to hear real stories about, the good, bad, and ugly of being an entrepreneur and a founder within the insurance industry, and how to overcome certain challenges. It tied in nicely, actually, the timing with our female founder and insurtech program, which is actually running live. We just concluded the application submission period actually yesterday. So we're working through that process. I'd love to talk about that. But we were really fortunate to have 3 terrific founders. And what was interesting is that their experiences highlighted the need for partnerships. So no matter what you talk about, any form of insurance, whether it's an AI solution or you're talking about workers' comp, we covered ometry with Carrie Ann in terms of looking at accident data. At the end, insurtechs and carriers need to partner, and it was very sort of, symbolic too, because our 5 organizations got together as partners, and coming out of that, it's been really terrific. Gotten feedback about when is the next event. Can I join the alliance? We'd really like to work with your members, Jenn, on putting a study together, which I'd love to talk to you about. And so we're getting a lot of follow-on activity from those who attended, those who were speakers, but then also within the alliance members. We've had some interesting brainstorm sessions. So we're really looking forward to the next event, but I think there's a lot we can do, as a Northeast community. And I think the focus should continue to be on partnership, because the only way innovation is going to advance is really smoothing out this insurtech sort of incumbent dialogue and process. And I know you guys are working a lot on that. So I think that's critical.
Yeah, no, listen, it was great. Thanks for your help. I think we all, you brought some great contacts, got us really good publicity. We were on Stars on AM Best TV, which was a first for me. And I guess broad question, Jenn. Where do you see innovation going over the next couple of years? We've got financial stress on the insurance carriers. It's tough to meet in person. I'd say there's more appetite for doing things, but I'm going to tell you, just looking around our company, man, bandwidth is just so low for this stuff right now, because everybody is, they're working hard. They're trying to put out fires. They're trying to keep sales going. If we're looking back in 2021, how are you going to describe what's going to take place over the next 6 months?
Yeah, right now I would say it's hard to predict what the next week is going to look like. But I guess what I hope is that clarity comes out of this COVID situation. So what I'm observing is candor and clarity are sort of like the trends, which is I only have so many hours in the day, so I need to focus on what's my priority, and whether that's you're the startup or the incumbent, right? So I think it's focusing on the here and now innovation, which is actually, that's good. I think those kinds of innovations, that essential innovation I'd like to call it, are really what matter. And even if that's converting a paper process to digital, well, let's get that done. That really shouldn't be that challenging. It's not like invention, exciting innovation, but it's so essential right now. And that's what allows a lot of larger organizations to continue to improve and find that bandwidth. You know, one thing I've thought about too is this an opportunity to rethink this pilot process, right? So can we become more efficient at not innovating? So is there an opportunity to experiment with more APIs or create a different style sandbox? So you can, the insurtechs are trying to test and they have limited bandwidth and they've been asked to cut costs, reduce staff, focus on, you know, the essential or sandbox environment is one thing that probably should be reviewed and maybe innovated. Even with
days, contracting, procurement, security reviews, things that, you know, every carrier seems you know, you don't have to bother with that.
We received calls from startups. I think it was like 20 per hour. I mean, it was just nonstop because the carriers, meaning the telcos back then, were the gatekeepers, right? And so we had to think about, well, we can't have one person like 5 approved vendors that went through a very rigorous process, and they became that gatekeeper. And it was a rigorous process to get them sort of on board. But once we set that up, it really allowed us to build our ecosystem of startups, which ended up being our app store, which then shifted to Apple and Google. The carrier stepped back. But I try to take lessons from what we learned in telco, because it reminds me a lot of what's happening right now. And the idea that, look, this is an opportunities in insurance.
And what's next? You know, what's next this year?
How can we better serve startup, more diversity, even within female founders, to really encourage different racial, ethnic, geographic backgrounds and age, and make sure that we were able to reach those folks. And we couldn't do that on our own. So we launched an ambassador program. It's worked out really well. We now have applicants coming in from LATAM, which we never had, from Kenya to Ukraine to France to Spain, all over the world coming in. And so we've seen that nice trend. We've wrapped up our submission period as of yesterday. And what's also new is that we've added a lot of training and education modules, because what we've heard a lot from founders is we need more access. We need to know inside the mind of an insurer, how do they use data? What is my cyber risk? Even if I'm a startup, I kind of got to know what I'm in for here. So we set up probably about 25 different training modules with our partners. And some of those other benefits include things like, you know, Upward Hartford, you know, having access to that community and space when we're back together. But I think that's what we continue to hear from founders, and we want to keep supporting that. Maybe we kind of see it'll be
startups versus the female.
Say is it's network, right? And judges and advocates that are male and female kind of into this process, technology that traditionally a lot of, you know, male came together, executives. In the end, if you don't partner and you think that they're a competitive threat or something like that, one of you will lose, whether it's information, customer accelerate.
Well, excellent. Jenn, thanks for joining us. And what's the best way to get in touch with you?